हरे कृष्णा प्रभु।
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु।
Maybe we can share directly from our laptop. हाँ, that's good. I'll share directly from you. Yes. Why it is showing like this? The host is not allowing to share. See, how do I do that? Ashutosh, Ashutosh, host. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
विष्णुपदाय
Krishna Prestaya
कृष्णपृष्ठाय
Host
भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत
खत्म ले कहाँ जाना
स्वामिने इति नामिने।
नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात् देशतारिणे।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरी श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा।
हरे कृष्णा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
It is okay, we can
Krishna,
remove this. I am
Hare
directly sharing it. We can remove
Hare,
it.
Hare Rama, Hare
Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमस्ते हलग्रह, नमस्ते मूसलायुध, नमस्ते रेवतीकांत, नमस्ते भक्तवत्सल, नमस्ते धारिणी धारा, नमस्ते बलनम श्रेष्ठ पलंबरे, नमस्ते स्तोय मां कृष्ण पूर्वज। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती गोपाल कृष्ण गोस्वामी नित्य नामिने प्रभुपादस्य साहित्ये यः प्रकाश वितिरिच प्रचारं कृतवान् साधु भगवत्पदाय ते नमः। So today is the third verse in the series that Prabhuji has started. So we will be, by the way, I'm sharing my screen for 1.1.3 and over here it is not visible. It may be visible in some time, but you can also see in your respective Zoom screens. So we will be going through Srila Prabhupada's translation, word meaning and purport for 1.1.3. And then possibly I will also try to uh, dive little deeper into some aspects of it, and then all of you can also add. So it is said that in order to speak about Bhagavatam, one has to be a Rasik. Only Rasik can understand and speak about Bhagavatam. So, in some sense, we are all Rasik because every jiva in this world has experiences some rasa. Either it is a material rasa or a spiritual rasa. But over here in Bhagavatam, they are not talking about some mundane rasa. They're talking about the transcendental rasa. That is the rasa or the mellow of the love of Krishna and his devotees, of course. So therefore, I am utterly unqualified to speak anything about this subject because I have no understanding what this rasa is and how to experience it, how to relish it. But however, as a service given by Prabhuji, I will be sitting here and speaking about this most transcendental subject matter as a service so that I can be purified. So I beg all of you to pray for me and bless me so that I can speak something meaningful and I don't waste your time. Moving ahead, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3 is a continuation of course, 1, 2, and then 3. In first verse, as we saw, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu told us that it is setting the pretext of what is going to be there in Bhagavatam. So we all attended that class and Prabhuji very detailed told some scriptures the Adi is important and in some scriptures Ant is important, right? So in Srimad Bhagavatam, the starting itself is very important because there the pretext, the prelude, and the constitution is established of what will be explained, how it will be explained, and how it should be received. All of them have been explained over here. So this verse is a continuation of that setting that is happening. And this will continue for some more verses as Prabhuji will henceforward explain. So this verse is very interesting because it will teach us how to drink. So today we all have to learn how to become drunkards, in a sense. But this drinking is of another nature. We will discuss what kind of drinking is being discussed here and why it is being discussed. So I will read through the words and then you can also repeat. निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखात् अमृताद्रव्यसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसम् आलयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः
कल्पतरुकलितं फलं शुकमुखाद्रमतस्सं भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका विभुवा.
Somebody wants to repeat, then they can. In the interest of time, I'll keep it short. Yeah, Prabhuji. Yeah, you can. No repetition. Yeah.
कल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः
Yeah, the repetition was not meant, but it is okay. All of us said. Mataji, if somebody wants to repeat, they can also. Yeah, you can repeat. If you want, you can recite.
निगमकल्पतरुर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका बिन्दुभावुकाः।
Thank you. Word meaning. Nigama, the Vedic literatures.
Vedic literature,
Kalpataro, the
Kalpataru,
desired tree.
the desired tree,
Galitam,
Galitam,
fully matured.
fully matured,
Phalam,
Phalam,
fruit.
fruit,
Sukha,
Sukha,
Srila Sukadev Goswami,
Srila Sukdev Goswami,
the original speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam.
the original speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Mukhat,
Mukhat,
from the lips of.
from the lips of
Amrita,
Amrita,
nectar.
nectar,
Drava,
Drava,
semi-solid and soft,
soft,
and therefore easily swallowable.
therefore easily swallowable.
Samyutam,
Samyutam,
perfect in all respects.
perfect in all
Pibata,
people,
do relish it.
to relish it.
Bhagavatam,
Bhagavatam,
the book dealing in the science
the book dealing in the science
of the eternal relation with the Lord.
of the internal relation with the Lord.
Rasam,
Rasam,
juice that which is relishable.
juice that which is relishable.
Alayam,
Alayam,
until liberation
until liberation,
or even in a liberated condition.
or even in a liberated condition.
Muhu,
Muhu,
always.
always.
Aho,
Aho,
oh.
O,
Rasika,
Rasika,
those who are full
those who are full
in the knowledge of mellows.
in the knowledge of mallows.
Bhuvi,
Bhuvi,
on the earth.
on the earth.
Bhavuka,
Bhavuka,
expert and thoughtful.
expert and thoughtful.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Translation: O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Srila Sukadev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Purport. So in this verse, there are two important kind of people for which Srimad Bhagavatam is specially signified for. One is Rasika and the second is Bhavuka. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, all throughout Bhagavatam, these two kind of people are described by the virtue of different conversations that are happening. So as Chaitanya Charan Prabhu told, Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing but conversations between great souls. And there is no chronology as well. So it may happen, some discussion may appear in Bhagavatam later, but it would have happened with respect to the time, it may have happened before or prior. So there is no prior and posterior consideration here. So all over Srimad Bhagavatam, two types of devotees are described. Bhavuka, for example, who can give example of Bhavuka devotee from Srimad Bhagavatam? And Rasika. Right. So Bhavuka, one example is Kunti Maharani. So when Krishna is leaving for Dwarka, she is sharing her bhav of her heart, the soft, tender feeling for Krishna. So Bhavuka and Rasika, of course, Sukadeva Goswami and others. Bhishma Devi is also in that. So like that, in whole Bhagavatam, these categories will be taken care. So the question, natural question that may come up is, are we the listeners in any of these categories? If not, then why are we even listening? So somebody say, "Ha, Prabhu, I am very bhavuk. Whenever I see very strong kirtan going on, either a Prabhu or someone, Loknath Maharaj, then I start crying." But that is not the bhavuk that is being talked about here. This is far transcendental to mundane sentimentalism. And the bhavuk is over here being talked about is about the heart, the bhav, the eighth stage of the transcendental development of prema. So, purport. In the two previous lokas, it has been definitely proved that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this sloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. That we have already heard from Raj Krishna Prabhu and Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, that how Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit, that we will also discuss, is the ripened fruit of all the Vedic wisdom that we have. This, if Vedic wisdom is a tree, that's why they are called Nigam Kalpa Tarur. So Vedic wisdom, if you consider that as a tree, from a tree you expect something, and that is finally you expect some sweet fruit from it. Srimad Bhagavatam is that. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was also telling that Srimad Bhagavatam is also a natural commentary to Vedanta Sutra. Natural commentary because the writer is same, right? So he has written the natural commentary after the instruction from his guru, after experiencing that bhav within his heart, that he is not feeling satisfied. So in order to ultimately strengthen and fulfill that satisfaction, this grantha has been given to for the benefit of all of us. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. So patient and submissive hearing, and please excuse me if I say something wrong, you can always correct me. I'm very new. So patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. The reason is because in order to let this knowledge go from the ear till the heart, we have to be submissive, because Srimad Bhagavatam cannot be heard in the mood of retaliation or debate or scholarship. It cannot be heard. So though Srimad Bhagavatam is being studied all over the world in famous universities as one of the subject matter by great scholars, but it is not a matter of scholarship. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing on this fact, how should we hear and from whom we should hear. Who should hear is already discussed, we discussed, right? So patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. So we have heard from in Nectar of Instruction that 6 qualities are necessary to grow rapidly in bhakti. What are those? Utsaha, Nishchay, Dharya, Tat Tat Karm Pravartana, Sang Tyaga, Sato Vritti, Sadbhi Bhakti, Prasidati. So same principle from Rupa Goswami is being presented here. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with the mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. So as Srila Prabhupada will tell in the further purport, that Srimad Bhagavatam contains everything for a successful execution of duties in this material world, be it material or spiritual. Srimad Bhagavatam contains all the subject matters that is necessary and sufficient for human being to study to make their life successful. What are those? Yes, and then their sub branches as well. The Vedas contain regulative principles of knowledge covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. So Srila Prabhupada is also emphasizing keeping the body and soul together should be the objective of making use of these sciences. Not that we make use of these sciences to do economic development beyond what is required. So he's therefore very, very clear. And therefore Srila Prabhupada is so glorious that his purports are extremely clear and without any ambiguity. Above and beyond all this are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulative knowledge involves the gradual rising of the living entity to the spiritual platform. And the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. So by making use of all these types of knowledge, both different kind of sciences and the science of self-realization, we have to finally reach where. So if the goal is clear, so in order to reach to the destination, two things should be clear. And actually, Srila Prabhupada tells in further purports, in further cantos, the two things should be clear. One is the goal. But somebody may say, I know my goal, that is sufficient. So if somebody has to run from till, let's say, this hospital, Manipal hospital, somebody has to run. And I tell him that is the destination, but that is not sufficient. The direction is also necessary. What if you start running in the opposite direction? Will we ever reach the destination? No. So therefore, goal and the direction both are necessary in order to achieve the final objective. Right? So what is the goal being Srila Prabhupada is telling here? He is telling the final goal of making use of all the knowledges present in Srimad Bhagavatam is to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he is the reservoir of all rasas. So he is the Rasaraj. Every living entity beginning from Brahma, the first born living being within the material world, down to the insignificant ant, desires to release some sort of taste derived from sense perceptions. These sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. Each such rasas are of different varieties. In the revealed scriptures, the following 12 varieties of rasas are enumerated. Raudra, anger; Adbhuta, wonder; Shringar, conjugal love; Hasya, comedy; Veera, chivalry; Daya, mercy; Dasya, servitorship; Sakhya, fraternity; Bhayanaka, horror; Vibhatsa, shock; Santa, neutrality; Vatsalya, parenthood. So these are 12 kind of rasas that are experienced by all categories of realized souls, all the categories in different forms. The sum total of all the rasas is called affection or love. But all these rasas have to accumulate into some condensed form, and that is love. And Srila Prabhupada will very technically explain how that is possible. Primarily, such signs of love are manifested in adoration, service, friendship, paternal affection, and conjugal love. These are the five primary rasas that we all know, right? Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And when these five are absent, love is present indirectly in anger, wonder, comedy, chivalry, fear, shock, and so on. The others we saw. For example, when a man is in love with a woman, the rasa is called conjugal love. But when such love affairs are disturbed, there may be wonder, anger, shock, or even horror. Sometimes love affairs between two persons culminate in ghastly murder scenes. Such rasas are displayed between man and between animal and animal. There is no possibility of an exchange or rasa between a man and an animal or between a man and any other species of living beings within the material world. Right? So this is also important. The rasas are exchanged between members of the same species, but as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole. So the overall objective of creating these rasas, somebody might ask, why has Krishna created these rasas? And why is this whole exchange of rasa even going on? That's where it is. Srila Prabhupada is telling, this whole purpose of creation and exchange of rasas was meant by the Supreme Personality, for the enjoyment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So originally when he thought of expanding his enjoyment further, so that's when he created this whole concept of exchange of rasas, which he does with his, intimate associates. So that the rasa, because it is absolute and perfect in nature, it keeps on increasing on being exchanged. The spiritual exchange of rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore described in the Shruti mantras, Vedic hymns, as the fountainhead of all the rasas. When one associates with the Supreme Lord and exchanges one's constitutional rasa with the Lord, then the living being is actually happy. Now, in our conditioned state, Srila Prabhupada is telling, if instead of exchanging the rasas with different conditioned living beings, if we understand the objective, and this is the direction. Previously, we understood the objective that Krishna is the reservoir of all the rasas. This is the direction of where, in what direction does that exchange should happen. Otherwise, that if the direction is not clear, we can start exchanging rasas with anyone in any direction. No. So that's what is being told, that the direction and the objective both should be clear, that Krishna is the only personality with whom the living entity should aspire to exchange the rasa or aspire to reach that stage where we can exchange in different service modes by doing service, association with devotees. These are the ways. These Shruti mantras indicate that every living being has its constitutional position, which is endowed with a particular type of rasa to be exchanged with the personality of Godhead. In the liberated condition only, this primary rasa is experienced in full. In the material existence, the rasa is experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary, and thus the rasa of the material world are exhibited in the material form of Raudra, anger, and so on. So, as Prabhupada have given example in his other books as well, that this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual reality. For example, on the bank of a river, you will see that a tree is there on the bank and that there is a reflection of that mango tree in the river. And then Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, in one of his classes, he was telling the problem is that today we have invented so many philosophies of how to find mango in the river in the reflection. So there will be philosophers who will be telling us that maybe you are not diving to the right depth, therefore you are not finding the mango. But the mango is in the reflection itself. So therefore, he was giving very good examples. So in order to find the real taste, the real fruit, we will have to look at the real reality, which is the real mango tree on the bank and not the reflection. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada is telling the rasa should not be exchanged with anyone, with any reality, with any pseudo reality, which is a reflection of the original spiritual reality. It has to be exchanged only with Krishna. Therefore, one who attains full knowledge of these different rasas, which are the basic principles of activities, can understand the false representations of the original rasas, which are reflected in the material world. The learned scholar seeks to relish the real rasa in the spiritual form. In the beginning, he desires to become one with the Supreme. Thus, less intelligent transcendentalists cannot go beyond this conception of becoming one with the spirit whole without knowing of the different rasas. And as always, Srila Prabhupada has also made an attack on Nirvisheshvad and Mayavad. So he never misses that chance. Over here, he is saying that any desire to merge with the original reservoir of rasa is also illusion. And therefore, people who don't know the tattva of these rasas, basically, they only can desire to merge with the Supreme. And they don't, because he's saying who attains full knowledge of these different rasas will only aspire to serve Krishna in different moods and forms so that these rasas, he can increase the transcendental bliss of Krishna by serving him in different rasas that we discussed, primary and secondary. In this sloka, it is definitely stated that spiritual rasa, which is relished even in the liberated stage, can be experienced in the literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam due to its being the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. By submissively hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. That is very important. We will come back on this one. But one must be very careful to hear the message from the right source. That is even more important. So right source, then he will explain mercifully. Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly received from the right source. It was brought by Narad Muni from the spiritual world and given to his disciple Sri Vyasadeva. The latter in turn delivered the message to his son Srila Sukadev Goswami, and Srila Sukadev Goswami delivered the message to Maharaj Parikshit just 7 days before the king's death. Srila Sukadev Goswami was a liberated soul from his very birth. He was liberated even in the womb of his mother, and he did not undergo any sort of spiritual training after his birth. At birth, no one is qualified, neither in the mundane nor in the spiritual sense. But Sri Sukadev Goswami, due to his being a perfectly liberated soul, did not have to undergo an evolutionary process for self-realization. Yet, despite his being a completely liberated person, situated in the transcendental position above the three material modes, he was attracted to this transcendental rasa of the spiritual of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by liberated souls who sing Vedic hymns. The Supreme Lord's pastimes are more attractive to liberated souls than to mundane people. He is of necessity not impersonal because it is only possible to carry on transcendental rasa with a person. Attack number 2. So then again in this paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing from whom we should hear, and therefore he's making clear that I should not be speaking about it, but he's speaking and he's telling that people who have completely realized the import, who are above the modes of nature, can only relish and explain Srimad Bhagavatam to others' benefit. Otherwise, we have heard in Padma Puran that we should not hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of professional speakers or people, in other words, or people who are still bound by the modes of material nature, because that is considered as good as drinking a milk which is touched by a poisonous snake. So Padma Purana explains it clearly, and that's exactly Srila Prabhupada is telling here. And he's also establishing the authority of Sri Sukadev Goswami that he is liberated from even before his birth. And therefore, this literature is completely in the parampara from Supreme Personality of Godhead without any contamination by the material modes of nature. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are narrated, and the narration is systematically depicted by Sri Ila Sukadev Goswami. Thus, the subject matter is appealing to all classes of persons, including those who seek liberation and those who seek to become one with the Supreme Whole. So it is appealing for everyone. People who want to merge with the Supreme Mayavad Nirvisheshvad, they also read Bhagavatam, but with different objective. So as we discussed, to achieve the destination, the goal and the direction. So the direction is not there because Srila Prabhupada explained previously, because their knowledge of rasas is not complete, and therefore though they read Srimad Bhagavatam, but they appreciate it, but they are not able to get the full benefit. The benefit is what? As told by Srila Prabhupada, realizing that Krishna is the source of all rasas. That benefit they are not able to derive. In Sanskrit, the parrot is also called a suka. When a ripened fruit is cut by the red beaks of such birds, its sweet flavor is enhanced. The Vedic fruit, which is mature and ripe in knowledge, is spoken through the lips of Srila Sukadev Goswami, who is compared to the parrot not for his ability to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from his learned father, but for his ability to present the work in a manner that would appeal to all classes of men. Again, the authority of Sri Sukadev Goswami is established. The subject matter is so presented through the lips of Srila Sukadev Goswami that any sincere listener that hears submissively can at once relish transcendental tastes which are distinct from the perverted tastes of the material world. The ripened fruit is not dropped all of a sudden from the highest planet of Krishna Loka. Right? Rather, it has come down carefully through the chain of disciplic succession without change or disturbance. Foolish people who are not in the transcendental disciplic succession commit great blunders by trying to understand the highest transcendental rasa, known as the rasa dance, and without following in the footsteps of Sukadev Goswami, who presents this fruit very carefully by stages of transcendental realization. So therefore, in order to understand, read, speak, and realize Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to follow in the footsteps of great Bhagavatas or Paramhamsas who has already realized the same. Otherwise, we will fall into the trap of concluding something which is apa, which is like a branch, upa, which is like a branch and not the main objective. Foolish people who are not in the transcendental disciplic succession commit great blunders by trying to understand. We read this. One should be intelligent enough to know the position of Srimad Bhagavatam by considering personalities like Sukadeva Goswami, who deals with the subject so carefully. This process of disciplic succession of the Bhagavad school suggests that in the future also Srimad Bhagavatam has to be understood from a person who is factually a representative of Srila Sukadeva Goswami. A professional man who makes a business out of reciting Bhagavatam illegally is certainly not a representative of Sukadeva Goswami. Such a man's business is only to earn his livelihood. Therefore, one should refrain from hearing the lectures of such professional men. Such men usually go to the most confidential part of the literature without undergoing the gradual process of understanding this grave subject. They usually plunge into the subject matter of the rasa dance, which is misunderstood by the foolish class of men. Some of them take this to be immoral, while others try to cover it up by their own stupid interpretations. They have no desire to follow in the footsteps of Srila Sukadeva Goswami. One should conclude, therefore, that the serious student of the rasa should receive the message of Bhagavatam in the chain of disciplic succession from Srila Sukadeva Goswami, who describes the Bhagavatam from its very beginning and not whimsically, to satisfy the mundaner who has very little knowledge in the transcendental science. Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representative. One more very important point Srila Prabhupada is highlighting here is that many a times, in order to please the audience, that is also something that preachers can learn from this purpose, that in order to please the audience, we don't have to present the knowledge. We have to present the knowledge as is received by the Bhagavatas. Then only it will change or it will make any impact on the audience heart. Ultimately, we have to change the heart of the audience by preaching. The preaching is meant to do that, right? But if we change the original knowledge, then essentially it may be pleasing to the mind, but it will not convert the heart. So for some time they may feel good, but the heart will not be transformed, which is the final objective of reading Bhagavatam, to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, source of all rasas. That is the objective of this verse overall. So I'll stop here. If you have any comments, questions, then we can take.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat. Prabhuji, you mentioned about this rasa, Prabhu, that it has to be exchanged between same species, right? But how do we understand? See, Krishna had so many cows, right? And even people have cows, right? So they do have exchanges, right, with say cow, right? Uh, 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 and nowadays, right, you have people having pets and all, right? So how do we understand that from what you explained about having
Yeah, I
exchanges
mean,
with same species?
maybe I am getting some examples, but devotees can correct if they are wrong with respect to this question. I don't want to be offensive to Srimad Bhagavatam. See, if you look at Vrindavan pastimes from Gopals and Gopis, right? So you will see all these primary 5 and secondary, including them, all secondary 12 rasas, you will notice that they are there. For example, gopis, they are very fearful, in love of Krishna, that Krishna is going to, say, Dwarka when he was taken away by Akrura. So they were very fearful. Or maybe when they hear, when all the Gopals come back in the evening and they describe, today we killed Agasura, then they also become very fearful. That today Krishna has killed by the mercy of Vishnu, that they think. But what about tomorrow? What about tomorrow? So these are transcendental exhibitions of these rasas by the eternal associates of Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But this is what I thought, that how it would be exhibited. So if you see all the 12, you can find in the daily dealings of Gopals, Gopis, and other residents of Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. I can also check back later and then I can correct if that was wrong, but that's what I thought. Apologies.
So, Prabhu, one more follow-up question.
Was here it is mentioned that this man called us from Bhavaka. Those can please repeat the how and for all of us. Because we are not on that line.
Right. So, yeah, exactly. So, as Prabhuji was telling in the last two verses, actually, I missed that. He was telling that though we might not be at that level, but the characteristics of listening that are mentioned in this verse, the characteristics, if we carefully cultivate those characteristics, what are those? We read them, right, in the first paragraph itself. Patient and submissive. If we develop these characteristics of hearing and then we hear Bhagavatam from whom? The bona fide representative. Then gradually we will become the servants of the servants of the servants of Rasikas and Bhavukas. That is the goal for us. So goal for us, if we hear with patience and submission, then ultimately we want to become the servants of the servants of the servants of the servants of the real Bhavukas and Rasikas. That's our perfection. And that's how we will come into this category. Not exactly, but yet we will understand. So the objective should not be to become exact, I want to become Rasika, therefore I am here. Because Srila Prabhupada will tell in the Bhagavatam in the later purports that we have to, according to the mood of a jiva, which is called a constitutional position, they have to take shelter of an eternal resident of Golok Vrindavan. So, for example, if somebody is in his constitutional position, his or her constitutional position is in maternal love or paternal love, then they have to take shelter of Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mata, Devaki, Vasudev Maharaj, like that. So, if we take shelter of these devotees and we hear from right source, then essentially we will develop those characteristics to understand the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna, thank you for so nice class. Here, Prabhupada was writing that rasa cannot be exchanged between the different species. At the same time, in some part of Prabhupada, they mentioned that actually those who don't serve Krishna, they usually serve pet dogs. So there is exchange because they are not serving Krishna, like maybe Rasa. So, but they are serving pets, like dogs and pets. So this is like contradicting our position.
So there are 2 points to it as I can understand. One is whatever rasa they are feeling, they are exchanging with other species is like a misplaced exchange. It's a misplaced exchange. They're feeling, that's an illusion. But no rasa is being exchanged. Moreover, the rasa exchanges being talked about here are primarily being talked about the rasa in the service and in the transcendental or spiritual realm. But to your question, between somebody pets a dog, they get happiness from it, but that is illusion. The rasas being described here, they will never be able to exchange with them in order to satisfy their heart. That is the main objective. See, when we drink something, let's say you are, and we all have experience, we do Nirjala Ekadasi. And again, I'm trying to concoct the answer. I may be wrong. So whatever I've heard, this is that. So let's say we are we are doing Nirjala Ekadasi. After that, next day you feel very thirsty. And if I give you very little drink, very little. Over here in Bangalore, it is not very hot, but in Delhi and Vrindavan, it is very hot. So next day you feel like I need something cold and a lot of water to drink. What if you are feeling very thirsty and I give you very little? You will not be satisfied. That urge to drink more will increase. It will increase. So the concept that I'm trying to tell, the satisfaction of heart will not happen. The whole purpose of relishing these rasas is the satisfaction of the heart completely. So as an answer to your question, though they feel like there is a quasi or a pseudo exchange of rasas, that's an illusion. Even whatever tiny exchange that may feel, their heart will never be satisfied with that exchange. So the primary objective, the real exchange happens, then your heart should be satisfied. At the end of the day, that is the objective. Otherwise, why are we even exchanging, right? So we discussed about, right? So if the heart is not satisfied, then essentially we are trying to find rasa or happiness at a wrong place. So it's a misplaced exchange or illusion that they are doing. They may feel like some exchange is happening, but the heart will never be contented with it. Example, Srila Prabhupada is giving in his small books. Like somebody wanted to taste sugarcane. He went to a person, he told sugarcane is just like a bamboo. He started chewing all the bamboos. So no matter how many bamboos that person chews, he will never get the taste of a sugarcane. That satisfaction that comes by chewing a sugarcane, he will never be able to relish. If let's call it rasa for some time, then he will not be able to relish that rasa to his satisfaction. In fact, he will be injured. And so if we misplace our love, affection, exchange of rasas to wrong place, not only we will be dissatisfied, but we will also be injured at the end of the day. And that is what is happening in the material world. We all feel betrayed and injured and dissatisfied. Injured in the sense you can think of, right? That what I did, they were not able to reciprocate properly, etc., etc. So that is what I think can be one of the answers.
Question. This progress has believed in the Vrajavasis, he stayed with Krishna. So they exchanged all these rasas with Krishna. Is there any right for us to exchange all these rasas with Krishna? Like anger, how can we can't do? Vrajavasis, they stayed with Krishna, so they exchanged all the rasas.
It's not only that Vrajavasis are staying in Vrindavan, that's why they are eligible. That is the main point. To stay in Vrindavan, one has to be eligible. And because they are eligible, they are staying there. And because they are staying there, and because of their eligibility of their service and love and affection towards Krishna, they are able to exchange that. We as conditioned souls, myself as a conditioned soul, I should not aspire directly to reciprocate with Krishna as Brajavasis are doing. Srila Rup Goswami and all the Goswamis have told us that we have to aspire to become dasanu dasanu das of the Gopi Bharat Kamal Padayo. So we have to become the servants of the servants of the servants of the gopis. When we say gopis, it is not only, it's in general specifying all the residents, the eternal residents of and eternal associates of Krishna. So as an answer, we should not exactly aspire to directly deal with Krishna. We should aspire to serve the devotees with love and affection and servitude and surrender. And within that service, all of these secondary rasas will be manifested automatically. So I'm thinking of an example. If somebody would be serving Prabhupada would call somebody rascal many times, right, with anger. So it is not mundane anger that Srila Prabhupada is showing towards his servants. or towards the general public, because he is a Paramhamsa, he is Gunatit, and therefore he is whatever he is exhibiting is on the transcendental level. So, I hope that answers. We should not directly aspire to exchange of these rasas. If we serve the Paramhamsas, Guru Vaishnavas, and Shastra, then all of these will automatically be manifested in our service attitude and servitude, directly or indirectly, like that. But if sometimes, and that is also in material world, sometimes you see people, they keep Laddu Gopal and they scold it. Why are you not eating? Why are you not eating? That may look good, but in the same time, if you see in Vrindavan also they do it. So these are very different. But in material world, they sometimes try to do it, but that is only sentimental level. There is no basis or substance to that. That is sentimental. Unless and until they serve the pure devotees of the Lord, we will not be able to experience and exchange these rasas in any capacity. So like that. Okay. Thank you so much. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय।
वंशकर्तव्य कृपा सिंधु